Welcome to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. Killian, Coriander. It's time to go to
Hey.
the other side. Poltergeist 2.
Yeah.
What are you laughing at, man?
I was just your scene selection.
Oh, man. Real quick in the chat as we get situated here. We got Eric. Eric saying, Steven should have known better. Tequila causes nothing but trouble. Right.
But it can be so tasty at times.
Qin says, hello, spooky people and Nightwatch. What's going on? What's
Hey.
going on? All right. So you guys know what we're here to do. We're here to talk about Poltergeist 2, The Other Side. Before we get started proper here, let's just do a quick take. What do you guys think of this movie? What did it mean to you? So run me right through it. I'll start with you, Coriander, and then we'll go to Killian.
I mean, I enjoyed this sequel. I thought it was
Okay.
pretty good. Yeah.
All right. All right. How about you, Kill?
I think it was a good follow-up, good sequel. Picks up, like I think 1 year later, and expanded a lot on the lore and definitely upped some of the gross score in this one.
Yeah, man, it definitely did. I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but when when we were kids and we watched this, that scene, of course, that's the scene that we had in the cold open when Steven is vomiting up. That scene was rough when we were kids, man. And
Yeah,
of course,
it's
I know you
rough
remember.
now.
It is rough, man. Shout out, because Giger did the design on the creature effects and stuff, and just as usual,
Oh,
wonderful
nice.
stuff. Yeah,
I didn't know
absolutely.
that.
Yeah. He did the design. Although, I'll get to it now before we start proper. But he did the design, but he wasn't super happy with all of the end results. There were some creatures he designed that didn't end up in the final cut, and part of it was because, and I think we found this out when we did a lot of the reviewing for Alien and stuff like that. He really hated traveling. So he actually had someone else that did a lot of the traveling back and forth. And so when the post was happening on the film, he wasn't as happy with some of the creatures, and he knew that it was because of the way that he wasn't there physically, checking on things as they were being created and so forth. But still, though, Giger had such a visionary mind and so imaginative. But I agree. This is a pretty good sequel. It's not as good as the original. It's pretty hard to top the original. So it'll be nice to see where we go with some of the conversation. But I agree with you guys. It had some good elements that they brought to it. Real quick in the chat, we got Slasher Fred that says, if they had done a fourth film, it would have had Carol Ann as a teenager. Yeah, and they did have some different plans, and they had some different plans for this one too, that we'll get into a little bit. That obviously had to be changed because of some different tragedies. Eric says Julian Beck's performance and sadly sickly look made Reverend Kane truly terrifying, even when just singing in the rain. True enough. True enough. Qwin says that worm scene is why I don't drink or sleep with flat booty women. That's funny. That caught me off guard. That was a good one. All right. So for you guys in the chat, for you guys watching the replay, sit back, relax. What do you think? Let's talk about highlights of the story and how it began and so forth. Like you said, it was a year after the original. So what'd you think, Kill?
I mean, it's funny. It's kind of like they're on the run. Yeah, I mean, they're staying with the grandmas at grandma's house, and they're just trying to live a normal life. They're trying to get past all of what's going on. And it's interesting because they add they take a page out of Stephen King where there's some shining going on in this family with the women of this family, and they touch on it, which is
They're
pretty
gifted,
interesting.
definitely.
They
Mhm.
are a family of gifted women, and some have suppressed it, and others have
Mhm.
embraced it. And I
Hmm.
thought that was really cool to expand on
Yeah.
the lore and expand on why these spirits are so attracted to Carol Ann. You know,
Yes.
Yeah.
Good
yeah.
point. That was an excellent point.
Mhm.
Yeah. And of course, and I'll get to you in a second, Coriander, the whole thing of it was that she was special because of her intense aura, her intense energy and light and so forth. And that's why the spirits, and as we've come to find out in this movie, Kane wanted her because she would be kind of like a weapon in a way to lure spirits and spiritual energy away from the light. So instead of letting the spirits go off into their, you know, forever
Where they're
reward
supposed to
place or
be.
whatever, where they're
Exactly.
supposed to be, Kane would be able to take those spirits and the energy and use it for his own evil means. So I agree. It was an interesting way to kind
Yeah.
of go deeper with that. But how about you, Coriander? What were you thinking in the beginning? Obviously, as you were mentioning, you enjoyed the whole idea of the shining aspect of it. I thought it was good too.
Yeah. I mean, we're all saying these women are gifted,
Hmm.
and it's and it's crazy because these poor people lose their house. It like vanishes out of thin air, and they're trying to claim it through like insurance, and they're having like a hard time. And yeah, you feel bad for them because yeah, where else are they gonna go? So thank God,
Hmm.
Mama's around to give them her house because yeah, and
Right.
like you say, they were on the run, but that doesn't matter because like the great Taylor says, it's gonna follow you wherever you go. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Taylor, played by the great Will Sampson. He was a good
Yeah.
character. I really enjoyed him in this movie,
Me
and we'll
too.
definitely
Hmm.
we'll definitely get to him a
Hmm.
little bit too. But real quick, Kill, before I jump back to you, let me just get to the chat. Q1 was saying, "I can't believe they sued them for that house. Everyone saw what happened." That's what I was saying too in our
Yeah,
last
man.
episode when we talked about the ending of Poltergeist. It was like at least 8 people or so literally right in front of the Freeling house, looking
Hmm.
at it as it goes up into nothingness. It is like, come on, really, seriously, come on.
Yep.
Um, Slasher Fred says, if you guys ever watched The Twilight Zone, there was an episode called Long Distance Call. I think they ripped off the episode in this episode. Yeah, I know exactly which episode you're talking about. And I think there definitely was a little bit of inspiration taken from that for sure. Eric says, as much as I love this one, I don't love how they made multiple characters clairvoyant. If it was just Carol Ann, sure, but the mom and the grandma
Hey, it's a
as well
family
was too
trait.
much. Yeah, I could kind of see it. Yeah, I could kind of see it that way. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it definitely had that vibe of something like The Shining. It really, really did. So, um, and Flamethrower says he was basically going to use Carol Ann as mosquito light to the other spirits. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
That was the idea, and again, pretty interesting. But Kill, let's keep going here. So they're kind of just trying to make do, staying at Diane's mother's house. Stephen is working as a vacuum salesman, and there was I know I said I would give it to you, but let me just say this, it might help you segue. I gotta admit, this movie still had some of those fun family moments that made you realize why you cared about this family.
Hmm.
Because that scene where, he was talking about how he likes to go doing the selling and going door to door and, let's just go on the road, the freaky freelings and stuff like that. There were still some scenes like that I think reminded you how good this cast was together. What would you think,
Mm.
Kill?
Oh yeah, and I mean, Craig T. Nelson, in my opinion, he was the glue with that,
Hmm.
because and it's funny. He to me he looked even younger in this movie. He
Yeah,
had,
longer
there were some
hair.
scenes where yeah he had a little bit of longer hair,
Mhm.
but he is still that loving father,
Mhm.
and he loves
Yeah.
his son, he loves his girls, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and they are a unit no matter where they are. They're
Yeah.
displaced. They're staying with the grandma, so they have no
Mm-hmm.
home, and they're fighting this lawsuit battle, you know, with the old house.
Yes.
So they're
Right.
really going through it, and I love the addition of the grandmother because she was
Mm-hmm.
just as sweet and loving,
Yeah, she was.
and like her and Carol Ann had their own little relationship that was just so
Yeah.
beautiful, and it seemed so natural. Every actor in these two movies, it seems the chemistry is so natural, and
Yes.
the additions fit right in, from, you know,
Mm-hmm.
grandma to Taylor. I mean, you know, and it's just a great dynamic as far as the actors and so forth, and the people that
Mm-hmm.
support and love and care for this family, you know.
Right. Absolutely. Real quick too in the chat, we got Waffles saying, "Guess who's back? Waffles." What's up, all? All right. Eric says, "I know they didn't want to bring up the tragedy of Dominique Dunn, but no mention of the older sister Dana at all. Not even a line saying
Yeah.
that she's at college or a friend's house." Now, and we were going to get to
Yep.
that, Eric, but I might as well say it now, and then Coriander, I'll get to you. The original idea, even in part one, I think they were already thinking of the possibility of this being, a few parts, but she originally, it was going to be a thing where she went away to college. They had even planned out a scene where there would be like a scene with her away and talking to the family or whatever. But because of Dominique being murdered shortly after the first film's release, obviously they decided to scrap that idea. And they decided not to even mention her, kind of, as far as from what I've found out, just more so out of respect for her. They weren't going to recast her or anything. They just weren't going to mention her, which, I can kind of see it both ways. I think as a kid, it didn't affect me as much because I was looking at it from a kid's perspective. As an adult, I think more about it because I'm thinking, well, what about Dana? But I understand what they were at least trying to do. It may not have been the perfect answer, but I will say it was done for the right reason, which you typically don't see that a lot in Hollywood. So, you know, just to throw that out there. But Coriander, what did you think about that? I guess we should talk about that a little bit. What did you think about the whole idea of Dana's absence and the reasoning, and should they have mentioned her or what have you?
You know, she was at that age where she wasn't mentioned. You could just assume she's off in college.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it didn't really phase me because she
Hmm.
was a lot older than those other two, than her other two
Yes.
siblings. So I mean, I thought the way they did it, yeah. I mean, the poor girl was murdered. That's
Yeah.
crazy in itself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, like you say, the curse of friggin' poltergeist, man.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Eric says, poor Robbie, last movie, he was eaten by a tree. This one, his braces nearly kill him. Made me think of when
Right.
the lady turns into a robot in Superman 3. If you know that scene, that is so funny you say that, Eric, because every time I see that scene, either scene, I think of the other one. That is so funny, man. Wow. Good for you, Eric. Good for you. That is too funny. I think the exact same way. That's crazy, man. You're all right. Qin says, "Hey, internet. I didn't know at the time what happened to her, only that she wasn't there." Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. He was saying that to Eric. Yep. We got the collector man in the chat. What's going on, Tristan? Hello, all.
Yay.
God is
Hey.
in his holy temple. I love the effects in this film, especially the Kane tequila creature. Yeah.
Yeah,
Again,
man.
H.R. Giger, man, just so inventive and creative.
Hmm.
Slasher Fred says, I wonder if the trilogy was the first to use the word poltergeist. As far as I know, for a movie, anyways. I mean, as far as I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Eric says, love Will Sampson, be it this, One Flew of the Cuckoo's Nest, or even Orca. Right? There you go.
Yeah.
Now
Yep.
you're talking.
Right.
But yeah, and of course, we can't, get too far in this discussion, Kill, and I'm about to throw it to you. We can't get too far in this discussion without talking about Kane, Henry Kane, Reverend Henry Kane, played
Hmm.
by the late
Creepy
Julian Beck.
ass, Reverend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Yeah. So throw it at me, Kill. What'd you think?
Man, this dude is still nightmare fuel for me, man. You know, I mean,
And it's so
you know,
funny you say that because Knight mentioned how you were like scared of this guy, man. You'd cover your eyes.
yeah. I mean, look. Now, for better or worse, I mean, I don't know exactly how young I was when I watched this, but
I'm
we
sure, man.
this was
That
one
would
of those
scare
ones
anybody.
yeah, this is one of those ones we rented from a Blockbuster or some movie rental place, and
Yeah.
I watched it with the family, and you have this creepy, pale, skinny white guy who
Mhm.
seems nice, but underneath the surface is something extremely sinister and scary.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pure
And
evil, man.
yeah, and that smile, and he's singing,
Yeah.
and he's just
Yes.
he's like Slender Man or something. He's a weirdo, and he's original Slender Man. I don't know,
There you go.
and
That's a good one.
and he still freaks me out to this day.
Oh
But
shit.
I guess that's a testament to how good of an
This movie
antagonist he
is.
was, and how good this
Yeah,
Yeah.
movie
man.
is. You
Well,
Yeah.
know,
and the sad part about it too is Julian Beck. He was diagnosed with stomach cancer. I think it was 2 years before the filming of this, and he
Oh
passed away.
wow.
He passed away shortly after he finished filming his scenes. I mean, this was even before post production on the film was done. So
That's
unfortunately, he
crazy.
passed away. But he was, that did add, to his appearance, his gaunt appearance. But from all accounts, he was a professional, and he did what he
Yeah.
was there to do. But his performance though was magnificent, and we just did
Mhm.
an icons episode on Henry Kane as one of the greatest villains in horror. And if you guys have not watched that, please check that out because it was just kind of just paying tribute to Julian Beck in this role. But he was so soft spoken, like you said, Kill, and that's what kind of was off putting at first. When Carol Ann first sees him, he's just walking. She's at the mall and he's just walking around, and then all of a sudden she sees that people are walking through him, and
Yeah, and
it
he's
was just
walking
some
through
really.
glass.
Yes, it was real creepy imagery. Nothing extravagant. No bodies or limbs flying anywhere. No gore and blood and guts. Just his performance, nice and subtle. And when she comes upon him, I mean, like you said, Kill, he's so polite and, are you lost, little girl? Are you scared? Why
I
don't you
am
come with
now.
me? but you know what was funny? Hey, look, man, it was so funny though when you were a kid, and this is, and I'm going off topic here. I'm sorry, guys, but when we were kids and we'd watch regular TV because regular TV was a thing back then, I can remember when a movie would come on at night, they would do commercials to preview it, and they would always for Poltergeist 2, and it was played quite a bit because this was a popular movie. They would always play that scene where he would say, "You are gonna die," and man, Killian, that used to mess you up, boy. I felt so bad. No, I didn't feel bad for you at the time,
No,
but I
you
feel
didn't
bad
feel
for you
bad.
now. But it was some good stuff, though. All right, real quick in the chat.
Oh man.
You're all right, brother. Tristan says the
Aw.
scene with Kane talking to Steven through the screen door is mesmerizingly terrifying. Absolutely. It was almost like a
Yes.
vampire type of
And he was
thing,
so
right?
smart not to let him in. So
He
smart.
was lucky.
He
He
was
was lucky
lucky.
though. Because remember,
Yep.
he was just kind of backing up while Kane was talking that sweet stuff to him. And I think it was more so he was lucky, and Kane, it was almost like a vampire, he was kept saying, "Let me in," almost like you have to let him in, just like the old vampire legends. You have to actually let them in for them to, do what they're gonna do. And Stephen was almost gonna open that door, and then Carol Ann said something, and then their eyes shifted away from each other to where Carol Ann was, and it broke the spell, so to speak. That's when Kane says, hurry up before it's too late, let me in. And then, obviously at that point, Stephen woke up and said, no, I'm not going to let you in. And that's when he, went through his stuff. You're going to die in there and all that. But Kewen said he made He made scared of Amish people and Southern preachers. Damn you to hell, Poltergeist. Eric says he's so soft spoken. Well, Knight, you know the saying. You know the saying, right? It's always the quiet ones. That's right, man. But yeah, Kill. Let's continue with that. I mean, that scene is a fantastic scene. That's the scene that always stands out for me as well. What did you think of? Like, what did you think of? What did you think of him? But what did you also think of Taylor as far as his character and what he was all about to help the Freelings?
I enjoyed it. I mean, the addition of Taylor and going more into like the spiritual realm, because apparently, Tangia did all that she could do. And so she's like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, this is out of my spectrum and realm of expertise. I need
Right, right,
somebody
right,
who's a little bit more experienced. And
right.
she kind of calls him in, and it's like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
now we're up to a whole nother level of, I guess, intense spiritual activity. And
Right.
I love how Taylor just like kind of came in, and at first, especially Craig T. Nelson, he didn't know how to deal with him, how to handle
Mm-hmm.
him, and even was kind of borderline a little mean to him at first with some of the things that were
Absolutely.
said. And then again, this
Yeah.
is a movie of its time in the 80s. Some of the stuff that he was saying was a little, maybe not the most PC
Mm-hmm.
things. um
Right.
but then of course he warmed up to him and realized, sort of just like with Tangia, okay, this guy is here trying to help us and he knows his shit,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe I should just kind of be open to whatever journey he's going to take me on that can help me save my family.
Right. 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 Absolutely. How about you, Coriander? What were you thinking about Taylor?
I thought Taylor was great. He
Mm-hmm.
represented really well. Uh, yeah, I mean, what can I say? It's crazy that this poor family has to keep dealing with this crazy, and to think that it's the same. It's the same thing that they were dealing with from the first movie.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
Tangina did what she could, but natives,
Mm-hmm.
they know their shit. And when it comes to spiritualism and dealing with shit like this, I mean, yeah, that's where I would turn to, honestly. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they were smart to
Yeah.
finally, the uh, Steve there was finally smart to realize that, yeah, Taylor knew what he was talking about. And yeah, I need to listen to him in order to save my family. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that scene where they went through the ritual and so forth, I thought it was very cool. And again, Will
Yeah.
Sampson, he was just great. He had great charisma. Every scene that he was in, I was just enjoying everything he did. He
Yeah.
had a very good his character was very likable and very knowledgeable and so forth. And Craig T.
Yeah.
Nelson played off of him very well. And it was cool to see
Mhm.
them get to the point where they bonded with each
Yeah.
other. Were you
And,
gonna
and
say
and
something, Cal?
that's what you do when you sweat. When you're in a sweat lodge like that, crazy shit. You see crazy shit and weird stuff happens. So, yeah, I mean, it was awesome to see, because a lot of people don't really realize that Native Americans, yeah, we do sweat. We do cleanse our houses with smoke and prayer, and yeah, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's something, yeah, that we still do today. So,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Were you going to say something, Kel?
Yeah, I just also with the way Taylor kind of allowed Craig T. Nelson to kind of fight some of his own battles. Because the scene with
Yeah.
Kane right outside the door, Kane was afraid of Taylor because he even said he's in
Yes.
there with you, isn't he? Yada, you can't
Mm-hmm.
trust him and this and that. And Taylor's just in there, just
Yeah.
sitting on a couch, like, I could go to the door and handle this for him, but this
Right.
is one of his tests. He needs to be
Yeah.
Yes.
tested. And he
He
even
was
says that to
protecting Carol Ann. Yeah.
yeah, but
Right.
he even said it to Craig T. Nelson. He's testing you for your strengths to see,
Mhm.
Yeah.
where your weaknesses are and so forth. And
Mhm.
I was just like, wow, that's just really interesting. And Taylor's just badass, man. He was just there, he was just
Yeah.
so chill. He was like, look, I've done this a million times. This is not new for me. It's new for you guys. So I'm gonna just stay
Right.
here with this little girl and make sure she's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I was going to say that scene, and actually Eric had just mentioned it too, but that scene where Robbie gets attacked by the braces and so forth, everyone runs to the bathroom. And Coriander, I think I said it to you too. I was like, don't leave Carol Ann, because they ran
Yeah.
upstairs, both of them.
Yeah.
Now,
They do it every
now I know,
time.
now I know they have to do that for the story to work a certain way, and obviously also to show Taylor not leaving Carol Ann's side. But it's almost like when you
Mhm.
think of it as a family thing, what they just went through is like, dude, I would bring her everywhere I go, because it
Yep.
was the same tactic they used in the first one.
Yep.
They attacked
Yep.
Robbie to get everyone outside the house so that Carol Ann could be abducted. But
Poor Rob.
Yep.
Poor
Eric,
Robbie.
I know,
I
Robbie,
know.
he's the bait. But
He's
Eric was
Yeah,
always
he
saying,
the
is. Yeah, he is.
yeah, Eric was saying Taylor was a great protector of Carol Ann. It's even called out when Robbie's braces attack. He protects Carol Ann and says it's her that Kane wants. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. Flamethrower says, my mom was Native American and loved that the hero of this movie was a shaman. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it
My
was very
dad's
cool.
full-blooded. Yeah. I'm right there with you,
Yeah.
man.
Eric says Tangina did what she could. Like I said in the part one discussion, she failed here and got lucky in part 3, I guess. Worst medium ever. Laugh out loud. Yeah.
Oh.
But you know what? I will say this, and it's not to make any excuse for her, but I one thing I did like, and it was a small little part of it, but when she was talking to Diane and trying to get her to use her powers, so to speak, it was funny because she even said to Diane, I don't trust my instincts anymore, and she said, I've consulted others, but they said that you know more. And that's when Diane was looking at the picture and trying to put the pieces together about Kane and what he wants. So it was funny because in that scene you got this sense that Tangina, yeah, she has a sensitivity to things and so forth, but it's not like she's like a superhero. This isn't like, she's not like one of the Avengers that just comes in and does her thing, uses her superpower, and then everything's situated. It's a process, and it's not perfect, so to speak.
Mhm.
And I think that was kind of cool because number one, that explains in a way the failing, like Eric was mentioning, the failing in part 1, and also the reason to have Taylor, but it also built Kane up as an even more intense villain. And I thought that was
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool. Even Taylor didn't have all the answers. Like, he was experienced, but like even he said, he said something like he doesn't know. Hopefully I'll try to bring them back. Like when they went to the other side, and he thought that he had failed, and things like that. So I thought that was kind of cool, just little bits like that, because
Yeah.
it also, and again, like Eric was saying, it was kind of a not a great trait of this movie, but for anyone that does like that trait of the women in the family having that clairvoyancy, that was a scene when Tangina said that other people have said more, basically saying that Diane has more sensitivity than Tangina has herself. So it was just interesting stuff. But Kill, as we get Eric, he said, stop making excuses for Tangina, Night. Laugh out loud. leave Zelda alone. No, I'm just joking. But Kill, let's get to the finale. I mean, all of this had been leading up to the confrontation with Kane, which, by the way, we had the scene that we played in the beginning when Steven basically kind of gave birth to him in physical form, which that was a crazy scene. Again, creature effects by Giger, who was amazing. But the finale, basically the confrontation against Kane, what did you think of that, Kill, as the finale to the movie?
I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, they had to go kind of back to the old house, go back to where it started, go underground into where Kane had him and his disciples, where they kind of, closed themselves off and suffered and died altogether.
Yeah, which was a creepy thought.
Oh God,
Yeah.
it's so creepy, and they go down there and they essentially go to the other side where they're fighting Kane and once again, man, and I think Coriander said this when we reviewed the first one. Love, man, the love of these parents and these kids, the wife and the husband, just the love of this family is what wins at the end of the day. And the bond that they have, even Robbie got in it, good old Robbie,
give Robbie some love,
give Robbie some love, man, so I thought it was really cool how it kind of ended where it began, kind of closing the loop, from the first movie to this one. So
absolutely. And Jo Beth Williams had said something that was interesting, because she was talking about the movies and she talked about how this one wasn't, for her anyways, wasn't as physical for her as the first film. She said it was more physical for Craig Nelson.
Yeah, it is.
Which obviously we see that. But she said for her in this one, it was much more of a psychological terror. And I get that, I mean, because obviously, she had some scenes where if you buy into her character, which, she's a great actress and this character was great. You realize that, hey, man, this mother is trying to keep her family together, the love of her family. She's been through this thing once. Now she's going through it again. What would that look like? And I thought she was very good in her scenes. But as we start to finish up here, Coriander, for you, what did you think of the finale? Was it a satisfying finale for you?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I thought it was great that they went back to where it originated, because, how else would you get rid of something? So I thought it was smart, and I thought it all worked out well. Yeah, I liked the ending. I mean, the music in it, I mean, the visuals to it, when, you thought, shit, Carol Ann, she's gone. But no, Grandma floats her back out. And I mean, that's like a beautiful scene. And the music, it was great.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I thought that was another thing that was, to me, was very sweet. I mean, and you guys mentioned it a little bit earlier, but the whole idea of the grandmother character and that actress, Geraldine Fitzgerald, she did a great job. And
she did.
Just the connection she had with Diane, but especially with Carol Ann. And it was just some sweet moments, and when she passed and all those types of things. But she was
Grandma's
the one at the
special.
end. Yes, I was going to say that, and it was a very sweet thing. And, again, I think all three of us can agree this movie was not better than the first. Rarely do you have a sequel to such an amazing film. Rarely do you have a sequel top it. But like I said, this had some interesting and nice family moments like that. It had a great villain. Julian Beck as King was magnificent. The only downside is that we didn't get more of him, but again, obviously with him dealing with his
We'll
stomach
forever
cancer.
see him. Yeah, but he's forever, in his movies and in his roles, so we can enjoy him. And
Absolutely.
He did great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He did. He really did. And real quick in the chat, before we get out of here, let's see. Q1 says, justice for Robbie, damn it.
Right?
Let's see. Tristan said, the film set was supposedly cursed. They used real skeletons, and Will Sampson would perform cleansing rituals. Yes, I heard that too. He was not happy about those things.
I wouldn't think so, man. That's sacrilegious shit.
Yeah. Yep. He did do rituals. That was definitely stated that he did rituals on set. We got David's Horror in the chat saying, hey, Nightwatch Zone crew. What's going on, David?
Hey.
How you doing, man? Nice to see you. Thanks for stopping in. All right. And we got Mr. Dan in the chat too. Of course, I had the Among the Living cassette tape with Anthrax with Kane on the cover. Oh, man.
Nice.
That is cool, man. Mr. Dan.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, that's a good one, man. All right.
Yeah.
Eric says, Killian may have gotten scared by Kane, but when Carol Ann turned into that creature when grabbed by Kane on the other side, that freaked me out as a kid. Yeah,
Mhm.
that was a crazy scene. I think I showed that image. That scene did get me too, man, because it kind of came out of nowhere. You know, she just transformed. One of the great effects in the movie.
Yeah.
And Tristan says, I love this film even more than the original, in fact, but the ending is too abrupt for me, and the creature near the end didn't look too amazing. I hear you. Yeah, it was a quick ending. You know, it was weird. And Kill, if you want, you can jump in as we finish up. But you know, they did a lot to get back to the old house, going through the cavern, and all of that was really cool. Cool set design and everything. And then, of course, you know, in the confrontation itself, it was pretty quick. Did you think so too?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
it was pretty quick, but I guess the one thing that I'll say that this one is different than the first is this one is straight up a horror movie. The first one is
Yeah.
like it starts off where the ghost stuff is interesting and fun and it's kind of
Yes.
adventure-y, and then it
Yeah.
gets to
Yeah.
horror. But this one, it
Right.
starts horror, it ends horror, and
Good
there's
point.
no fun. Oh, this is interesting. But
Right.
yeah, the ending it does wrap up a little abruptly. So yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Eric says, I love how Taylor drives away with the family car for payment, leaving the family behind. Yeah, that was
Right.
cute. And Tristan says, the car is now happy. Laugh out loud. Yeah, that was cute. Like I said, those were some of the things that were really cute about this movie that was different than the first one. You know, like Tristan was saying, he likes this one more than the original. And I can see that. You know, this was, like you said, Killian, more of a straight horror film. And you had Kane, you had Taylor. You know, so you had great characters that kind of came into this one that were really nice, you know.
Hmm.
Um, David's horror. David says, I think this was better than the first. Kane made that movie scarier for me. Agreed. Yeah, right
Yeah,
there.
he made the
That's
movie,
that's what I was just
honestly.
saying. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Q1 says the tequila monster pushed to the top for me. Yeah, that was just crazy. That's even to this day watching that scene. Not only does it still look good, and we're talking about a movie that's 30 years old, it still looks good, and you know, practical creature and all that. So I gotta admit, they had great moments like that. They really did. But yeah, you know, pretty good movie. It did not do as well as the first movie, but again, that is to be expected. It made only about half of what the first movie made. It made $41 million off of a $19 million budget, and its RT score was a bit lower. But again, that's understandable too because this movie, you know, it did lack in some of the development areas versus the first one. It only had a 30% Rotten Tomatoes score. So, you know, and the original had like an 87, I believe it was. But anyways, but still a good sequel. I enjoyed it as a kid. I still enjoy
Yeah.
it now as an adult, you know,
Hmm.
and you know, and of course, you know, so many tragedies linked with the Poltergeist movies. You know, they talk about the Poltergeist curse, and obviously we have another film to review, and we'll get more into some of those things. So it's a lot of RIPS, unfortunately, for the cast of these movies. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's about it for Poltergeist 2, The Other Side. Pretty good sequel. If you haven't seen it, I think you should, especially if you enjoyed the first one, or if you haven't seen it in a long time. It's a fun watch. You know, when I rewatched it, I was
Yeah,
like,
it is.
wow, because I hadn't seen it in a while. I don't know about you,
Hmm.
Kill, but I
No.
hadn't seen it in quite a few years. But rewatching it, I was like, wow, this was actually a pretty good movie. It really was. So
Hmm.
for you guys watching, please give us a like and also comment down in the comment section. Let us know what you think of Poltergeist 2. Did you enjoy it more than the first one, like Tristan did or like David did? Let us know. And also, let us know some of your favorite moments. Let us know about Kane and all those types of things. And we will be catching you guys next time. Real quick in the chat, as we head on out, Eric says, okay, time to prepare for part 3 as he exhales. You're all right, man. All right, guys. We'll catch you later. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace out, guys.
Peace.
Upchurch.